Israel is more security conscious than life itself. In Haifa port, these things doesn't happen. Why should we have so many security agents at the port and these things are coming in? Compromise. Put a bag full of dollars here. The man will look the other way. What is the government doing about it? How many people are in prison? The core of any economy is the bank. When the banks are not banking, what do? There are more criminals in the banking hall than there are prisoners in prison. The banks is just a confederation of racketeers fleecing the unsuspecting customer. How many times have you looked at your 10 years ago, 3 years from now, look at your bank statement and see what it charged you, and try and reconcile it with what the central bank has told them to do? You'll find something. And the banks will deny that. They will desecrate the money's grave in denial.
This is amazing because
it's an interest. There's so much can be said.
Yeah.
But how do you have them, affect them?
And we need to keep saying them as much as we can, so that those who need to identify and see what we can do about it. But if the recruitment processes to some of these agencies were to be, at least say 70% up to the way it ought to be, how would that affect anything, even though they are incapacitated by technology?
Where do you recruit them from? Nigeria here? You see, when a child is born, take England for instance, there's a projection on the child's life that by the age of 25, you would have graduated in biochemistry. Is it happening here? No. There is no labor market here. What you have is either Godfather market or bottom power market. How do you deal with that? It is the truth. And if anything I say is half truth, half or quarter truth, I'll pull everything else back. The problem here is government.
Now, for instance, you talk about, prosecution. Now, let's look at that particular discovery now as a case in point. Don't they have, for instance, a manifest and some other documents to show who the importer is of this?
It's all doctored. The shippers
because this is not the first time. As soon as we get it, the next thing is that you don't even know who has brought that thing into the country.
It's a terrible thing. Look at the DHL. The DHL will pick up a pin from California and deliver it in a tiny street in Calabar. They track it. When I said we should have captured data, everything on the vessel, live, you process it online, zero weight status, everything there is, you can see them online. Now, if it's not manifested, it will not appear. What ship will have the audacity to come through these channels or even in the high sea and drop anything that you collect with voyages, if the law is anything to go with? The law, the entire rule of law, enforceable rule of law, becoming a common convention to which all of us will plug in regardless. Then we'll start working. Whether the sea is high or the tide is low, whatever it is, everybody will be subjected to the same thing. If you're afraid of doing something wrong because you go to prison because of it, you will not.
I was asking
how enforceable are the laws of this country?
I was asking you, why I asked you the question of the structure is what you talked about, the issues of doctoring of papers. How do we get to that point where those papers will not be doctored? Our ports are concessioned right now. In an ideal situation, what should be the structure? Because those containers had arrived at the port already.
They have containers.
No, the containers that were captured had already arrived at the port. It was now the customer that just by intelligence just went to check and all that. Okay, so how do we get to this point where we won't have this kind of situation?
If the law is anything to go by, it will be given to the master. The master will increase the scope. If it means going back to National Assembly to write the enabling acts, they will do that. The people that have sent away will come back and say here, I've got to mention, there's a maritime academy in Oran. It's about 32 years old today, 32 to 33. Nobody has ever come out there and gotten gainful employment. What is happening to this country? The structure you're talking about, when you remove the independence of the Nigerian Post Authority, where do you want it to go? It's with the concessionaires. They bring in anything. They have the right. How many years? 25 years? 30 years? They do anything. If you keep the ports where they should be, the government will be interested in making sure that every item of security item, anything, you capture them. Anything that is not manifested, you don't come here. Because if you come here, you get punished. In Britain today, you don't bring in anybody without a visa. The airline will have to pay. Because the processing that person costs money.
But we don't do that here.
How do you do that? The cost of flight from here to London is higher than what it costs from London to New Delhi. And we're not talking about distance here. It's all political.
Yes, it's a shorter distance.
The shorter the distance, the less the aviation fuel it, yeah. So why should it be this way, the other way around?
So definitely people are benefiting from this chaotic situation. That's why they'll not put things in order.
This is why you're having materials, explosives, coming through the waterways. Because people are compromising what they shouldn't compromise. Enabling the massa to deal with the jobs, increasing and enhancing the capacity, widening their scope, these things will come down short.
Is there a possibility where we can have some kind of patrols on our waterways? When you see stuff like that, instead of getting them to come to our ports, you send them back immediately?
You don't send them back, you punish them, send them to prison. And if the law is anything, you see, if I tell you today, give me an enforceable law with electricity, I will fix all of your economic and political woes. That is not happening here. If the law is enforceable, nobody will come through road or air, sea, because the law will punish them. If the law is not sufficient, you don't have monopoly on anything. You can have legal sledgehammer. This legal sledgehammer will make sure that any food out of line you use